Hi everyone, welcome to the speed learning series of ServiceNow third-party risk management. In every session of this series, we share with you quick insights into must-know features of third-party risk management. In this session, I will specifically focus on issue and remediation workflow. So, without further ado, let's get started. Third-party risk management is a critical aspect of any enterprise risk and resiliency strategy. As businesses increasingly rely on external vendors, partners, and service providers, the risk associated with these third parties, whether operational, regulatory, reputational, or cybersecurity related, have grown significantly. Managing these risks isn't just a compliance obligation, it's essential to safeguarding trust and reputation in the marketplace. In the previous speed learning sessions, we have explored how ServiceNow's third-party risk management solution helps organizations gain real-time visibility, automate risk assessments, and improve decision-making across third-party lifecycle, all within an integrated risk framework. In this session, I'll specifically focus on the issue and remediation workflow within ServiceNow's third-party risk management solution. We will explore how organizations can quickly identify and track third-party risk issues, assign remediation tasks, and ensure timely resolution, all with a streamlined and automated process. This workflow is vital because identifying risk is only the first step. Addressing and mitigating those risks effectively is what ultimately protects the organization. Through automation, real-time tracking, and collaborative tools, ServiceNow helps the risk teams to close the loop on risk management and maintain continuous oversight of third-party risk posture. We have a nice demo lined up for you in this session, so stay tuned. All right, let's roll with it. Before we dive deeper, let me walk you through today's agenda so you know what to expect from this session. First, we'll start by discussing the top 5 reasons why companies act on third-party threats. This will help set the stage and underscore the importance of managing third-party risk proactively. Next, we'll explore the pulse of third-party risk, focusing on how to track the issues that truly matter and why visibility and timely resolution are crucial for risk reduction. Then, we'll move into the core of the session, the life cycle of third-party risk issue and its remediation tasks. This is where we see how problems are identified, tracked, and resolved within the third-party risk lifecycle. After that, we'll take a closer look at the issue and remediation components, the fields, flows, and relationships to understand the nuts and bolts of how the system is structured and how it supports seamless risk management. We'll then jump into a demo, which will give you a practical hands-on view of the workflow in action. Finally, we will wrap up with key takeaways to summarize the main points. With that overview, let's get started with why companies prioritize third-party threats. All right, let's begin by understanding why third-party threats are top of the mind for so many organizations today. These are the 5 most common and compelling reasons companies are taking action on. First, regulatory compliance. Organizations are under increasing pressure from regulators to demonstrate due diligence over their third-party ecosystem. Whether it's GDPR, HIPAA, SOX, or industry-specific guidelines, the cost of non-compliance can be significant, not just in fines, but also in brand credibility and operational restrictions. Second, operational continuity. Many third parties deliver services that are critical to business operations. If one of them experiences a disruption, a cyber attack, financial collapse, or even just a major outage, It can cause ripple effects across the organization. That's why proactive risk identification and mitigation are key to avoiding operational blind spots. Third, safeguarding data. Vendors often have access to sensitive data, customer records, internal IP, financials, etc. If their systems are compromised, your data may be at risk. Companies are acting faster to assess and monitor vendors to avoid data breaches that could result in reputational and financial damage. Fourth, trust and market reputation. Even if a risk event starts with a third party, the public and your customers see your brand, not theirs. Reputation damage due to a vendor's poor practices, be it a cybersecurity lapse or an ethical issue, can erode trust and customer loyalty, which takes years to rebuild. And fifth, last but not the least, financial impact. The downstream cost of third party failures are real. Investigations, legal fees, remediation, loss of revenue, and potential customer churn. Companies are realizing that proactive risk management is far less expensive than reactive crisis management. To conclude, when third party issues aren't addressed promptly, they can lead to compliance violations, operational disruptions, data breaches, and reputational damage. And often the root cause isn't just the risk itself, but how slow or fragmented the response to it is. That's why companies are prioritizing structured, automated issue and remediation workflows to ensure accountability, speed, and provide full visibility across the third party risk lifecycle. All right, moving on. So now that we have looked at the key drivers behind why companies act on third party threats, the next logical question is, how do we know which risks actually matter and how do we keep track of them? Not every vendor issue carries the same weight. Some are low risk and can be handled routinely, while others require immediate escalation and cross functional coordination. Therefore, the real challenge lies in separating the noise from the truly critical issues and making sure nothing slips through the cracks. That brings us to our next topic, the pulse of third party risk, tracking issues that matter. Here, we'll look at how organizations can maintain real time visibility into third party issues and how that visibility helps prioritize response and remediation in a meaningful way. One of the key challenges in third party risk management is keeping a pulse on where risk issues are coming from. It's not always a linear process. Issues don't just show up at the beginning or end of a vendor assessment. They can emerge at any point in the life cycle, and how we track and respond to them makes all the difference. First, issues are often logged during assessments, either manually by assessors or triggered automatically by answers that fall outside of acceptable thresholds. Then you have internal teams like InfoSec, compliance, or procurement, raising issues independently based on audits, incident reports, or vendor behavior that seems risky. A third trigger point is risk acceptance. Even after completing assessments, some risks are accepted with conditions, and those accepted items need to be logged, tracked, and remediated as issues over time. Next, we have control on compliance. When a vendor fails to meet a required policy or framework, it often results in a formal issue being created to ensure it is addressed. And finally, in today's world of real time threat intelligence, continuous monitoring is becoming essential. Tools that scan external data like threat feeds, breach alerts, or ESG news can surface risks you wouldn't catch through periodic assessments alone. The takeaway here is this: Issues can come from anywhere at any time. And that's why organizations need a centralized, consistent way to capture and act on them. And that leads us to the next part of the story: how we manage these issues from creation all the way to remediation. Let's move on. All right. So now that we have looked at where third party issues originate and how they are typically logged, the next question is what happens after an issue is created? That's where structure really matters. Without a clearly defined lifecycle, issues can get lost in email threads, delayed across teams, or worse, never resolved. In this next section, we'll walk through the end-to-end lifecycle of a third-party risk issue and its associated remediation tasks. All right, now let's walk through the lifecycle of a third-party risk issue step by step as it progresses from discovery to resolution. These stages provide structure, accountability, and traceability across the internal teams and third-party stakeholders. We'll start in the new stage. This is when an issue is first created, whether through an assessment, monitoring activity, or manual entry by third-party risk manager. At this point, the issue is logged, assigned, and queued for analysis. Next, we move to analyze. Here, the internal risk team evaluates the issue, assessing impact and determining whether remediation is needed. Supporting work notes capture the analysis and evidence, or context is often added at this time to guide the resolution of the issue. Once analysis is complete, the issue is submitted to third party. This stage represents a handoff. The issue is formally communicated to the vendor or third party contact along with recommended remediation steps or required actions. But this step is optional, meaning an issue is only tracked by the internal risk team or may be resolved, but through maybe other methods. For example, over a scheduled meeting, etc., when it is not really necessary for third party contact to access the issue on the third party portal. Then comes the finalize with third party step stage. This is an interactive phase where the third party response can be reviewed collaboratively. Feedback to the response may be shared, remediation plans may be revisited, or internal team may create additional remediation tasks when finalizing the issue with the third party to ensure that the issue is remediated or request clarifications. The basic idea is to create a collaborative environment for organizations to work with the third party towards issue resolution and therefore may involve back and forth communication before alignment is reached. It is important to note that ServiceNow keeps the issue workflow flexible to allow the remediation task to be created from analyze through the review stages of the workflow, actually, and does not get prescriptive in enforcing when the remediation task must be created. This allows for customers to easily incorporate their requirements into the out-of-the-box flexible workflows. Again, this step is optional as previously explained. After that, the issue enters review stage. Internal teams validate the third party's response, reviewing artifacts, confirming resolution, or even reopening the issue if it hasn't been adequately addressed as per those involved in the review of the issue. Basic idea being a stage that is separate from external review during finalization of the issue with the third party. It's an internal review with stakeholders who must be informed and feedback be recorded before issue is formally closed. And finally, the issue is marked as closed. Once all tasks are complete, remediation is verified, and internal risk team is satisfied with the resolution. The issue is formally closed and logged for reporting and audit purposes. This lifecycle ensures that no issue is dropped. Every step is traceable, and both internal and external stakeholders are accountable throughout the process. With that, let's take a moment to talk about the remediation workflow that you can see at the bottom right of the screen. All right, now that we have covered how issues move through their life cycle, let's take a closer look at how the associated remediation tasks are managed. In ServiceNow, the remediation task workflow is intentionally kept straightforward and actionable, with clearly defined handoffs between your internal teams and third-party vendors. Let me break it down for you. It starts with the open state. When an issue is identified and a remediation task is created, it enters the open state. Here, details such as what needs to be remediated, due dates, and any relevant guidance or attachments are added. Recall that issue workflow is flexible when a remediation task can be created. That is, through the analyze, through review stages of the issue workflow, remediation task may be created by internal risk teams for the third-party contacts to remediate the issues as per the plan defined in the remediation task. Usually, this plan itself is an outcome of the seamless collaboration that is facilitated by the issue workflow. Once the task is ready to be addressed by the vendor, it moves to submit it to third party. At this point, the third party is formally notified and given access to the task details so they can begin work on it. The transition is important because it marks the shift from internal planning to external actions on the tasks. As the vendor starts remediation, the task moves into work in progress stage. During this phase, they're actively remediating the issue, whether that's implementing a technical fix, updating a policy, or taking corrective action. Communication can occur in parallel, and supporting evidence can be added in real time in the task. Once the third party indicates that remediation is complete, the task transitions to review stage. This is where the internal risk team evaluates the submitted evidence or responses. If everything looks good, it can be closed. If not, the task can be sent back for clarification or rework. Out of the box, the review step is meant for internal risk teams to collaborate on remediation tasks, and the workflow as such is flexible so the customers can incorporate their requirements easily. Example, your review could be a single step process or a multi-step process for your organization, which you can easily configure using the implementation best practices. You may also use this step for any collaboration with third-party contact for clarifications. However, our recommendation to you is if any action is required to complete the remediation, if it was deemed incomplete, then push the workflow back to work in progress with appropriate comments to the third-party contact so that they know that they are supposed to work on the task and it results in appropriate audit trail being created in the process. Finally, once all conditions are satisfied, the task is marked as closed. That means remediation has been verified, accountability is captured, and the task is logged for future reference or audit reporting. This structured workflow ensures that remediation efforts are trackable, collaborative, and auditable, which is exactly what risk teams need to ensure follow up through and measurable risk reduction. All right, with that, let's move on. I have a very interesting slide coming up for you, which talks about the data model and how the workflow can be managed. All right, let's take a closer look at the underlying data structure for third-party risk issues and remediation tasks in ServiceNow and how the platform architecture supports a powerful, flexible workflow. In ServiceNow, both issues and remediation tasks inherit from the core platform tables, specifically the task table and more specialized, the planned task tables. Starting at the foundation, the task table is the backbone for all work-related records in ServiceNow. It is used for incidents, problems, changes, and more. It provides a standard set of fields such as assign to, state, and priority, short description and description, open by, open date, and close date. It also enables integration with platform level features like SLAs and notifications, approvals, activity logs, audit history, and task dependencies. It also enables default security and access controls that makes it easier to apply and manage security policies to protect the issue and remediation information from accidentally sharing it with anyone until explicitly granted access to the intended stakeholders. Now, here's the key point. Both third-party risk issue and the remediation task, as they extend from the planned task table, bring in a lot of project management capabilities. For example, you are able to track planned start dates, planned end date, duration, and percentage complete, actual versus planned timelines, parent and child task structures, and task dependencies. This shared inheritance means that issues and remediation tasks benefit not only from task level tracking and lifecycle management, but also from planning and scheduling capabilities, making it easier to manage timelines, dependencies, and stakeholder accountability. On top of that, both issue and task records include attributes specific to third party risk workflows. For example, they maintain relationships with other objects like the associated third party or vendor, related engagements and assessments, and they include flags that define visibility to third party contacts. So you can control what gets shared externally. This data model gives us a lot of advantages. It supports traceability, consistency across workflows, reusability of platform components, and seamless integration with other GRC processes. So while the issue and task grids may look different on the surface, under the hood, they share a common architecture that's purpose-built for structured, auditable, and collaborative risk remediation. All right, with that, let us review the user personas in a short bit. Okay, let's talk about roles and context of third-party risk issue and remediation management. The personas that play a key role in conducting issue and remediation management are third-party risk administrator, third-party risk manager, third-party risk assessor, third-party risk reviewer, and third-party contact. Broadly speaking, third-party risk managers and administrators oversee the life cycle of third-party and engagement, issue, and remediation activities. They are responsible for identifying, coordinating, reviewing, and managing issue and remediation tasks. Although administrator is more responsible for the backend activities that would support these processes. To a certain extent, third-party risk manager may also perform key setup activities, typically through no-code configurations, to support issue and remediation management processes. Third-party risk assessors are responsible for coordinating and reviewing third-party and engagement issue and remediation tasks. They play a crucial role in identifying and analyzing potential risks as issues and remediation tasks that get identified and are actioned to help ensure informed decision making. Third party risk reviewers support the third party and engagement issue and remediation tasks by participating in the evaluation. They assist in reviewing issue resolution and remediation actions and help ensure completeness and accuracy of the issues and remediation activities. Last but not the least, third party contacts, of course, are one of the key user personas who actively take action on issue and remediation tasks when assigned to them. They can identify secondary contacts who would be able to assist the primary contacts in this process. It is a key responsibility of the third party contact to be engaged and share relevant updates to issues and remediation tasks, eventually closing them out and agreeing an exception if it cannot be resolved with the third party risk team, thereby helping them to track the issues and remediation status. All right, it's time for a quick demonstration of the workflow. All right, time for a quick demo. I'm using TPRM version 20.0 for this demonstration. I'm logged in as a third-party risk manager. As a third-party risk manager, one of my primary responsibilities is to provide an oversight of the lifecycle of the third-party risk management and view and manage the third parties and engagements that are in flight. I do that with the vendor management workspace and specifically in the context of issue and remediation management. I have a few reports that I take advantage of. Those reports are on the home page and on the risk activity page. Let's start with the report that is the most useful one for me on the home page in context of issue and remediation management. One of the key reports that I use on a day-to-day basis is issues by priority. This report gives me a clear view of how issues are distributed across different priority levels, like critical, high, medium, low, or minor. The primary benefit of this report to me is that it allows us to quickly gauge how many critical or high priority issues are currently open, helping me focus attention where it matters most. But what makes this report especially useful is the additional context it provides alongside the chart. Not only can I see the number of issues by priority, but I can also get key details upfront, such as a specific issue name, its priority, and who it's currently assigned to. This added visibility gives me immediate insight into ownership and accountability without needing to click into every record individually. Of course, if I want to dig deeper into a specific issue or priority group, I can simply click on the chart itself and drill down into the individual issue records for more details, track progress, and take action. This combination of this combination of summary and relevant information makes the issues by priority report a powerful tool for both strategic oversight and operational follow-up for me. Okay, let's next navigate to the risk activity page. This page is like a central hub for tracking work queues and activity overview, and we get more specifically interested to review the risk activity page in context of issue and remediation management. This page is designed to help me stay organized and keep a close eye on both open issues and tasks throughout their life cycle. So starting in the work queue, we have two key reports here, total open issues and total open tasks. Both of these reports break things down clearly by providing not just the total count, but also highlighting which of those are overdue and which are pending, or rather, how many of these are overdue or pending. This makes it really easy to identify backlog and spot where follow-ups or escalations might be needed. I can again drill down into these little widgets and see the information about those issue records. Navigating back. So then we have the activity overview section, of course. The activity overview section gives me a snapshot of the state of issues and tasks. These two reports show me how issues and tasks are grouped by their current state. Theoretically speaking, whether the issue or tasks are in open, in progress, pending, or closed. But of course, the actual states, as you can see on the charts, um, are different for issues and tasks themselves. But you get the point. This helps me track how work is progressing over time. Additionally, in the same overview area, there are two additional reports that are useful, which is issues by priority and task by priority. As the name suggests, these show how issues and tasks are broken down by priority, helping me focus on the items that represent the most significant risks or require more urgent attention. Although risk activity provide um, an excellent operational view, allowing third-party risk managers and remediation teams to prioritize efforts, track accountability, and it helps me make sure nothing important falls through the cracks. So with that, let's look at some of the other sections that I use for my day-to-day basis. Okay, let's navigate to the list page. So as I move to the list page, this is where I can really get into the details of individual issues and tasks. Issues, as I navigate to the issues and task list, I'm presented with useful filters like open assigned to me. So as I scroll down, open assigned to me, open issues, all issues, and likewise for tasks, depending on what I'm looking for. So let's start with issues. If I click on all open issues or all issues, I'm taken to a detailed list view showing all issue records in the system. One thing to note here is that all issue records start with a prefix VRI, which makes it easy to recognize and search for them. By default, the list displays key pieces of information to help me quickly assess the issue at a glance. I can review issue number, name, the third party that the issue relates to, the associated assessment. The issue was identified during a third party risk assessment, priority, state, and assigned to attributes, and third party contact for external follow-ups, and the planned end date to track closure timelines. If you have a long list of issues, you can easily page through by clicking next page. If you have a long list of issues, you can export them as well in different file formats like Excel, CSV, JSON, and PDF. Um, and you can personalize the list view to your taste. So you can click the gear icon, edit columns, and then you can add or remove columns and make the list yours as and the beauty of this is that the system remembers your personalization for future use. Now, when it comes to tasks, so let's go to all tasks. It works exactly the same way. Clicking all tasks, I can see a similar list, except here each task starts with the prefix VRT to differentiate it from issues. The layout and available columns are very similar, as you can notice. They are pretty much the same. Um, Now, the primary difference is basically what the system of record issue is used for versus the task. task primarily is basically for driving the remediation activities, right? Again, the same set of capabilities exist for task as well in terms of navigation, exporting the tasks to different file formats, and making the task view your own by editing the view. So as we can see, both list and task um, views give you a uh, it is a powerful way of like tracking them uh, and customizing to the taste that suits you in terms of the information that you want to get faster. So this is how the list page is helpful to me as a third-party risk manager or assessor. So with that, let's move on to our next topic. Our next topic is about creating issues. So navigating back to the home page, all the way up here. So next, I want to walk you through how issues and tasks can be created on demand within the system. This is really useful when you need to manually capture risks or actions that fall outside of automated assessment processes. We'll take a look at the actual forms in detail shortly, but first, let's focus on the options available for creating issues and tasks. One important note on roles: third-party risk managers and assessors have the ability to create issues and tasks. Issue reviewers can certainly participate in the process. They can review, provide input, and collaborate, but they do not have permissions to create issues or tasks themselves. This role-based control helps maintain accountability and ensures creation of risk-related records stay within the right stakeholder groups. Again, we'll dig into the structure of the issues and tasks form shortly. For now, just know that you have the flexibility to create records when needed, giving you more control over capturing and managing issues in real time, and thereby the risks. Let's see what our different options in the baseline configuration are. So as we see on the home page, we have quick actions available to create issues and tasks. So if I click create issue, it opens up a blank issue form for me and it allows me to create issue. Um, Sorry, this is taking just a few seconds to load. So there you go. So a blank issue form has been opened up and you can create the issue and issue accordingly. Same thing for the task as well. We'll talk about the different fields that are there on the form in a little bit. Um, Navigating to the list page, if I navigate to the third party record, and let's say any third party record for that matter, I can navigate to issues as a third party risk manager or even assessor, and click new from this view from within the third party record to create an issue. It again, of course, begins creating the issue by launching this form. Um, and there are several other methods, like if you navigate to the engagement record, all engagements, let's say any of these engagements, you can navigate to the issues related list and create the issue. Likewise, for both third party and engagements, you could do the same thing with the tasks as well and create the tasks, right? Now, if you were to create an issue from within an assessment, that is doable. You have to navigate the assessment that you want to create the issue in. Let us say, I navigate to any of the open assessments, and then again, I have the related list issues and tasks here as well, which allow me to create the issues and tasks respectively. Furthermore, within the list view, I can navigate to issues and tasks list. And again, here I do have options of creating issues and tasks respectively by clicking the new button. So this basically, sums up at a very high level, what are the options available to you as a third-party risk manager or assessor to create issues and tasks ad hoc. Okay. Now let's navigate to the issue form and task form and talk about the fields at a very high level, right? So if I navigate the issue record, now I can capture the name of the issue, description, the issue number is auto-generated, likewise for the task as well. Notice that I need to specify what this issue, where this issue must be applied. So does it apply to a third party? Does it apply to an engagement of the third party? Or does it apply to an entity of the third party? Notice how the form changes the attributes based on the options you select. Third party is a mandatory field that you have to import regardless of the options. If you selected engagement, then you are required to populate the engagement. And if you selected entity, then you're required to populate the entity as well. If this issue must be belong to an assessment, then you can select the assessment record by browsing through the list of assessments. And more often than not, you would be associating the issues to an assessment in case you want to make them visible and available to the third-party contacts on the portal, which I will show you just in a moment how that is accomplished. So there are other attributes here like, the state, the priority, of the issues, assignment groups, who the issue is assigned to, third-party contact in case you want a third-party contact to work on the issue, watch list for keeping anyone informed about this particular issue within your organization. um, you can provide the recommendations for the issue. The available options are either you accept the issue, request additional information, or you request the third party to remediate the issue. You can provide some explanation about the issue over here. Now, regarding this attribute visible in third party portal, upon the state of the issue being changed to submitted to third party, you have an option to make this issue visible in third party portal. Until and unless this checkbox is selected, the issue is not going to be visible to the third party contact. That is a way of keeping the issue internal versus making it available to third party on the portal to address it. Some additional tabs over here. Let's talk about template. So as I'm filling this issue form, as you can see, there are a lot of attributes that I need to input values for. But what if I had a template to start off with? So currently there are no templates available, but I'll show in a little while as to how those templates could be set up as a third-party risk administrator. But if those templates are set up and are available, then third-party risk managers or assessors can take advantage of it, which will allow them to populate these issue records, at a greater pace. That's really the purpose of it. And any attachments can be added over here. So this is how the issue form looks like. The task form is very similar. A lot of the attributes are actually the same, as we also noted it, while we were reviewing the list view earlier. So pretty much the same attributes. And the difference here is the scheduling. So for the task, you are able to define the schedule as to what the planned duration is. What is the planned start date, planned end date, and the system tracks for you the actual duration as to when actually the task was started versus ended. And this information, as you can see, is very useful in terms of tracking the progress of the task. Tasks are used for preparing remediation plans by the third party internal third party risk team, and then exposing those remediation plans to the third party contact. More often than not, the remediation tasks is an outcome of a collaborative effort of third party risk managers or assessors and third party contacts during the assessment process. Okay, now with that, as I promised, let's take a quick look at how the issue templates and task templates are set up by third-party risk administrators. So I will impersonate a third-party risk administrator. Typically, you would expect the third-party risk administrator to perform the activity of creating templates. So as I navigate to the third-party risk management application and assessment setup, I should have options to create issue templates and task templates. So if you click new, we can begin the process of drafting a template, which will then be available to third-party risk managers and assessors to select and use for creation of issues and or tasks accordingly. You can provide a name for the template. You can give a short description. You can make it active or inactive. You can set the attributes, basically the fields that you see on the form and the default values. And this is what a template is. And it allows it to be selected on the issue and task form respectively. Task template is very much the same as that of an issue template. With that, let's move on to our next topic, which is issue generation rules. So issue generation rules, let me just quickly navigate to issue generation rules. It should be under issues. Okay. So let me see if there are any. Okay, there are no issue generation rules here, but let's talk about issue generation rules, right? The purpose of issue generation rules is, this allows to a certain extent um, automatically create issues based on the assessment outcomes, right? So in this case, you're able to provide a name for the issue generation rule. You can select a third-party risk assessment if you want to target this rule to a very specific assessment. But more often than not, you wouldn't want to actually target it to a very specific assessment, but you would rather target it to a questionnaire and blanket apply it to all the assessments, right? So for example, let me select business resiliency. And there is a question here called as demo question one. Again, this is demo data. Now, what this really basically means is if the answer to this question is an incorrect answer, then I want an issue to be generated for the assessment where this questionnaire template belongs, right? So as you can see, the field type is yes or no. If no is incorrect answer, then as well, yes, generate an issue automatically. And you might as well use an issue template. And if you want a task to be generated along with the issue, you can select the task template as well. So this allows a lot of this creates a lot of efficiency in the generation of issues for assessments. And again, you can simply apply it to a questionnaire template as opposed to a specific assessment if you want the behavior to be replicated for all the assessments, regardless of which assessment it is. So that's pretty much the issue generation rules. Next, let's talk about the on-demand generation of issues. Yeah, we did discuss about it earlier, but this is a very specific method of creating an issue and the most common and popular method among the third-party risk managers and assessors. So as a so basically as a third-party risk manager or an assessor, let's say I can navigate to external assessments from vendor workspace. So as I navigate to the external assessments, I'm just waiting for the list to load. Let's see, let's find all open assessments. And I will look up for a very specific assessment. And yeah, let's pull this up. Ignore the demo data. So yeah, So we have this very specific assessment which is underway, and we expect the third party contact to respond to a sample questionnaire. Okay. So what we are now going to look at is basically a common method of issue and task creation on demand that third-party risk managers or assessors are likely to adopt. Outside of all the other methods that we reviewed a few minutes ago. So in this case, the third-party contact is either responding to this questionnaire or have responded to this questionnaire. And the third-party risk manager and assessor have an option to review the question. And these are very generic questions, like sample questions, if you will. Boolean itself is a question type, but that could be a question you could create, which is of type Boolean. I can include this question when creating an issue. And once that checkbox is selected and I click create issue, the system asks if I'm sure if I want to generate an issue for the selected question. I can click create issue, and an issue has been generated for a particular assessment question. Notice that the question automatically is flagged as having an issue tied to it, and this is the issue that just got created. Um, so that's the most popular method of how third-party risk managers and assessors would create issues on demand, um, as in along with all the other methods that we reviewed. With that, let's talk about one more thing in terms of like how external monitoring can possibly generate issues. So for that, let's navigate back to so what we are going to do is we're going to navigate to something uh, as a third-party risk admin, navigate to provider-based submission rule, and let's open any of these submission rules. Okay, so from an automation perspective, this is another popular method of issue generation and assignment to third party. This is a separate use case for external monitoring of third party risk scores. There are several providers that ServiceNow integrates with to generate these scores, and these scores can be utilized to generate issue and assign to third party. So if as I navigated to the provider submission rule here, I can see that based on the change type being any one of these options, like percentage or score or rating, if that decreases or increases by a certain percentage or a score value or threshold, if a threshold is met, then for a particular third party, and you can set the conditions to which third parties this rule must be applied to, you can create an issue and a task, and it uses the issue template and a task template. And most likely you will also create an assessment, and ideally this would become part of an assessment. The issue is generated for an assessment. Okay, although it appears that it is not mandatory, so the issue would be created at the third party level. But if you do create it as part of an assessment, it is parked within an it is rather captured within an assessment. So that is pretty much the provider based submission rule at a very high level. Our focus is more from, okay, how does this help to generate issue and task? All right. Last but not the least, um, just to mention from an integration perspective, right? Um, Control failures also generate issues. So um, basically, what I want to highlight here is that from better together perspective, specifically around integration of ServiceNow policy and compliance management application, which is part of broader integrated risk management suite. If your organization is actively tracking controls for third parties, you can take advantage of integrated workflow where any control failures or instances of non-compliance can automatically generate issues against the third party. This ensures gaps in compliance are surfaced quickly, assigned for resolution, and tracked alongside other third-party issues. So now, while policy and compliance management is outside of scope of this particular session, it is valuable to be aware of this integration, this capability, especially if your organization is looking to build a more connected risk and compliance ecosystem. If that's an area of interest for you, it's definitely something to explore further as part of your broader integrated risk strategy. With that, we'll continue with the next topic, which is around issue and task workflows. So we'll continue with that. All right, let's talk about issue and remediation task workflows. So here I have an example assessment called as staff outsourcing engagement. It's part of the engagement, staff outsourcing. Let's navigate to this assessment. This is an external assessment. So as we can see, the assessment has been submitted to third party. There is an issue created and it has created as well. Let's navigate to the issue record real quick. So what we see is that this issue has been created by the third party for the third party work faster by the organization for an engagement, which is staff outsourcing engagement, and as part of an ongoing assessment. So this issue is basically for NDAs that haven't been signed in context of this particular engagement. This issue is in the new state. Again, as a reminder, and you can obviously go back to the recording and watch the slide that was on the workflow. When an issue is in the new state, it is initially created through various means. In this case, it is through the assessment. It is logged into the system and assigned to responsible parties. In this case, the third-party risk manager, and is queued for further analysis, right? It has also been assigned to third-party contact, but notice that it is not yet visible to the third-party contact in the third-party portal. Okay, the assigned person here, which is the third-party risk manager, reviews the issue and possibly, maybe decides to update the priority, maybe capture some notes, explanation, or maybe add some work notes or comments, etc. Right? And then ultimately, would progress this to analyze state. Okay. So as the issue now progresses in the analyze state, the primary agenda here is that the internal risk team thoroughly evaluates the issue's impact and determines if remediation is required and records supporting notes and evidence to inform the next steps. Okay. And again, uh, pretty much it's the third-party risk manager possibly working with their extended team to take a decision on if this issue should be moved forward and the third-party contact should action on it, right? Based on that, probably the action is like third party to remediate, make sure NDA is signed before moving forward, right? Now, once that analysis is complete and any notes or explanations are captured, the third party risk manager or assessor will submit this to third party. Now, as they submit this to third party, as they are getting ready to submit this to third party, this checkbox can be selected, visible in third party portal for the third party contact to be able to access this issue. And then they hit save. Now that this issue has been sent to the submitted to the third party, basically, first of all, let's look at this from the third party's perspective. So we'll navigate to the third party, and I've already logged in as the third party contact, and we will find the staff outsourcing engagement. As we navigate to the engagement, here is the issue that has been submitted. NDAs haven't been signed. Okay, so basically, as it is submitted to third party, the issue is formally communicated to the third party, along with any recommended remediation actions. Okay, this step is optional though, and sometimes resolved through direct interactions instead of the portal. Um, but that is a possibility. Okay, so here the comments can be exchanged between the third party contact and the third party risk manager. For example, working on this issue and things like that. And they can send the comments. They could provide the attachments, if you will. And those would be real time reflected back into the issue record for the third party contact. So now navigating back to the issue record, we can see that the comment was added. Um, it was possibly decided by the third-party risk manager or assessor to also create a task, let us say. Okay, so they created a task as well for remediating this issue, and this is a task. This task is also submitted to third party, as you can see, and is visible in the third party portal. Okay, the description of this task is, remediation of the third-party engagement without NDA. These are the steps like, immediately suspend sensitive information sharing, notify internal stakeholders, initiate the NDA execution process, conduct risk assessment, and document any and prevent recurrence in the future, right? So this is what the recommended remediation steps are. This has been submitted to third party. And again, from the perspective of the workflow of a task is also very much like that of an issue with some slight differences. But pretty much the stages kind of like more or less mean the same, right? So submitted to third party, work in progress, review, and close complete. We'll talk about some of those stages as we progress the issue workflow. But the meaning is more or less very much similar. Okay, so right now the task is submitted to third party and is visible in the portal. Okay, so if you navigate back to the portal, as a third party contact, I can also see the task. Okay, so this task has been submitted and now accessed by the third party contact. The third party contact can add comments and start the progress of the task, right? As the task progress big. So we can see that the task has begun. So if you navigate to the task, you'll notice that the task is progressed to work in progress state. Um, Now navigating back to the portal again, um, let us say this task is resolved, and we can add, yep, actions completed. Will email the uh, documentations. Okay, say resolve the task. All right, so the task has been resolved and is now pending review. So let's navigate back to the task again, and see it has now been parked to review. Let's leave it here for the moment. Let's navigate back to the issue. So from this is basically the issue record. So now within this issue record, say let us say the task has been completed, and we are very much satisfied with the outcome. We can now finalize the issue with third party. So as part of this step, this is an interactive phase which kind of like involves reviewing the third party's response and collaboratively working on it with the third party contact and internal teams, providing any feedback, refining remediation plans if needed, and possibly creating any additional tasks until complete alignment is achieved. Okay. And uh, once that has been taken care of, the issue can be moved to review state. Within this, internal teams may conduct a detailed review and validation of the evidence or the documentation that has been provided as part of this resolution efforts. Okay. And then confirm if the issue meets all the criterias and is successfully resolved, and if the issue can be effectively closed, or if it needs to be reopened by sending it back to the third party, maybe potentially reopening the task and progressing from there, right? So let's say this is all satisfactory. First of all, as a third party risk manager or assessor, I would complete the task. So would save it. The task is now complete, and with that, basically, let's navigate back to the issue, and we can now close complete the issue. All right, so this completes the issue record. From a third party perspective, if we navigate back over here, you can see that the issue has been closed and the task has been closed. Basically, this is how the process of issue and task workflow works out of the box. And this is how the third party risk manager or assessors, basically the internal third party team and the third party contacts, they collaborate for issue resolution. That wraps up the issue and remediation workflow that we have planned for the demo. And that pretty much concludes the demo itself. So let's now go back to the presentation and continue from there. Okay, hopefully the demonstration of the issue and remediation management for third-party risk was helpful. Additionally, we have gathered for you a few helpful resources that should support your implementation. We will drop the links to these resources alongside the community page so you can access them. As we close out today's session on third-party risk issue and remediation management, I want to recap the key takeaways that bring everything we have covered so far together. We know that identifying risk is only part of the equation. How we track, prioritize, and resolve those risks is what drives real risk reduction and protects our organization from potential impacts. That's where issue and remediation management plays a crucial role. First, visibility and prioritization. Centralized tracking of issues from assessments and continuous monitoring means that nothing slips through the cracks. Automated issue creation helps reduce manual overhead and, more importantly, ensures consistency. By applying risk-based categorization, teams can focus on the issues that have the greatest potential impact. And with reporting and dashboards, leadership and stakeholders can get real-time insights into where risks exist and how it is being actively addressed. Secondly, accountability and collaboration. Risk management is a team effort. With clear ownership, SLAs, due dates, and escalation paths, there is no ambiguity about who is responsible for what. What's equally important is that vendors themselves can securely collaborate by providing evidence and status updates, allowing for transparency and progress in resolving issues. Integrated workflows and robust audit trails ensure that remediation actions align with compliance requirements. Finally, remediation and risk closure. Issue management doesn't stop when risks are identified. It continues through structured remediation planning, task management, and follow up assessments to verify that actions taken have been effective in issue resolution. The process also connects with broader GRC initiatives, aligning third party risk remediation with your organization's overall governance strategy. And of course, reporting and metrics help you keep track of open issues by severity, third party, and status, empowering leadership with the information they need to stay proactive. As you apply what we have covered today, remember that guidance is available through ServiceNow product documentation and Now Create. And if you run into recurring technical challenges, don't hesitate to engage your ServiceNow administrator to work with the account representative to get more help to determine whether additional support is required. With this structured approach, your teams will be equipped not just with risks, but drive them to closure efficiently and transparently, strengthening your overall third party risk management program. Thank you for your time today. I hope this session has been valuable and informative for you to kickstart or maybe enhance your third party risk issue and remediation program. Thank you.